Today we're going to do something I've been wanting to do for a while, which is test out a new recipe. One of the things that I love to do in cooking is try new things. That's how you learn. I've been wanting to do this on the channel for a variety of reasons, but mostly because the way that I have learned things is through making mistakes. So I'm hoping that if you're watching this and you want to learn how to cook, you can learn from the mistakes that I make. This is going to be a series that I have not made these things before. I'm going to call this endeavor Kitchen Quest. And today for Kitchen Quest number 1, we are making something that should be fairly easy. We are making pesto. Now, first things first, if you've never made a dish before, obviously you can't you could try to just make up whatever you think the recipe is. But the best way to start is to go online or in a book and find a recipe for the thing that you want to try to make. So I went online and I found a couple recipes. It just happened to be that Binging with Babish posted a pesto video like really recently, and I was like, is he reading my mind? But it was really convenient for me because his recipe is the one I'm going to use, and the reason for that is because he measures it in weight. Because when you're measuring whole ingredients like leaves of basil, it's really hard to measure in volume. To avoid any confusion or errors in measurements, I chose his recipe because it's measured in weight. 30 grams of basil will always be 30 grams of basil. But if you're trying to measure 3 cups of basil, that has a lot of variance to it. I'll put a link to his recipe in the description below so you can get that. But in his recipe, you can make it with a mortar and pestle, which is the way that I'm going to do it, or you can make it with a food processor. The difference being the mortar and pestle is crushing the basil leaves, and the food processor is chopping the leaves. So supposedly I've heard and read that crushing the leaves in a mortar and pestle offers a more full flavor when the sauce is done. And I have a mortar and pestle for this very thing, so I'm gonna use it. But if you don't have a mortar and pestle and you have a food processor, or maybe even you could use a blender, I would try it. If you have one of those, then I would use that as an option. And bonus for me, since I'm using the mortar and pestle, I'm gonna get a good arm workout. So I'm gonna go harvest the basil from the garden and then we'll get started. Let's go. All right, so this recipe is pretty simple. All you do is add 30 grams of pine nuts, 1 clove of garlic, and a pinch of salt to your mortar and pestle and start crushing that up. The goal is to ground this into a paste to start with before you start adding the basil, olive oil, and cheese. And then when we start adding the basil and olive oil, I did it in small increments and mashed it all up, and then I would add a little bit more and then mash that up and a little bit more and mash that up. Small bits at a time seemed to work really well and made it a lot easier for me to get through everything. Eventually, you'll add all 30 grams of basil leaves, and I used 30 grams of Parmesan because I didn't have Pecorino Romano, but you can split it up into 20 grams of Parmesan and 10 grams of Pecorino Romano if you would like, and then 80 ml of extra virgin olive oil. And like I said, add little bits at a time, mashing them up as you go. Make sure that everything is fully incorporated before you add the next batch. I also decided to use a red pepper, garlic flavored olive oil to add a little bit of spiciness to it. Eventually, the goal that you're working towards is getting to a nice creamy consistency. If you find that your sauce breaks and the olive oil kind of separates, add a little bit more cheese, just keep mashing, and mine came back together really quickly. Honestly, my mantra was just keep mashing, just keep mashing, mashing, mashing. Pesto is also a sauce that you don't have to worry about cooking or heating up, which is nice and makes it pretty quick. You can also use it cold or hot, so that's nice. But I wouldn't heat up pesto by itself. If you're putting it on warm pasta, just let the heat from the pasta warm up the sauce. Pesto, haha. Ooh, this has a little spice. Whenever something is like a main ingredient in a recipe, use high quality stuff. Just spring for getting whatever the best of the thing is. Like with puff pastry, I use Tillamook butter every single time because butter is going to make a difference in that recipe. Same thing here. Like one of the main ingredients in this is the olive oil, so use a high quality olive oil. One of the things that I have discovered is that it turns brown really fast, which makes sense. It's kind of makes me think of when you make guacamole, how you want to like take the plastic wrap and push it down on the surface like this. But it doesn't taste any different. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's oxidized and turned brown from exposure to the air. There's nothing wrong with it. You can still eat it. And the same thing with avocados and guacamole. You can still eat them and they're fine. It's just they don't look as appetizing. But yeah, I think it turned out really well. I'm definitely going to keep this recipe and use it in the future. I am really looking forward to continuing Kitchen Quest and trying tons of other recipes. I have so many ideas. I'm excited. It's going to be good. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is a channel update. So I started this channel around Thanksgiving time during quarantine because I had enough time to do it. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's definitely something I want to continue doing, but I've recently got promoted at work, which I'm really happy about and excited for this new opportunity in my career, but it is taking up a lot of my energy and a lot of my time. And I do sit in front of a computer all day long, so editing these videos is kind of rough to do after you've been sitting in front of a computer all day long, and then you have to sit in front of a computer to do some editing afterwards. But this is definitely something that I enjoy doing. I hope you enjoy it if you're watching, and I hope to continue doing it. I might not be able to post every Friday like I've been doing, but I'm gonna try my best. So with that, if you like this video or you learned something, give it a like. If you'd like to learn more, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.